you listening? Okay, Genesis 13. Remember, there was a famine, and he went down to Egypt. And of course he survived the famine. So we are now looking at this passage which is called Abram and Lot Separate. So now Abram is leaving Egypt, and he's with his wife, and Lot, his nephew, is with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold, Egyptian livestock, Egyptian silver, and Egyptian gold. So from the Negev, which is between Egypt and where Israel is now, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel again, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had built an altar. And there he called upon the name of the Lord. Lord, El Elyon, it's me, Omi, Abram. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, pardon me, sometimes go through a lot, and you're a man, there's no one who will hear you, but to God, the one true God, you're just a child, He'll hear you. Just tell him, what's going on. I think that could be one reason why he would call upon the Lord for strength, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, if you got all this stuff inside. Sometimes you can't move forward unless you just at least talk about it. Now Lot, who was moving with Abram, also had much possessions, but they had so much that they could not stay together. And then quarreling, arguing arose between Abram and Lot's herders, the people who worked for them. So Abram said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between your people and mine, for we are close relatives. Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. So Lot looked and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the garden of Eden, like the land of Egypt. So he chose for himself Jordan. Interesting. Lot went to Jordan and set out toward the east. Abram lived in Canaan, while Lot lived there, near a place called Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had left, look around from where you are to the north and the south, to the east and to the west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring, your children forever. I will make your offspring so numerous. There's a lot of dirt on the ground, little grains of dirt, so it's little pieces of dirt, many pieces of dirt. You can't even count them. So you will have many children and descendants. And then in verse 17 he says, go walk through everything that you see, for I am giving it to you. So Abram went to live, I guess, again, the same spot at the great trees of Mamre at Hebron. Wait, Hebron or Shechem? I have to remember that. They could be super secret. Yeah, there could be something that you could... sometimes in the Bible, there's a clue or inconsistency, and then if you try to resolve it or look into it, you can learn something. It's like deeper. There's a secret about what went on in the past. And there again, he built an altar to the Lord. Let's move forward to Genesis 14. So remember, this place called Sodom is wicked, and it's near he chose this area where Jordan is. Lot, Abraham's nephew, chose this place. So Genesis 14 is titled Abram Rescues Lot. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch, Kedolamer, Tidal, these kings went to war against Bera and Bersha. See, Bera is the king of Sodom, Bersha, Shinab, Shemeber, let's see, 1 Bera, Bersha 2, Shinab 3, Shemeber, and Zoar, the king of Bela. I don't know. Does that mean Zoar is a loser? Yeah, look at the way they wrote it. Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela. That is Zoar. All these kings joined forces to fight. For 12 years, they were Kedolamer's subjects. They rebelled in the 13th. So these 5 could get their butt whipped by Kedolamer. But Kedolamer still had friends, Amraphel, Arioch, and Tidal. Because if they're subject to him, then Kedolamer could just whip all 5's butt. But he also had 1, 2, 3 fellow king friends. So in the 14th year, Kedolamer and his friends went out and defeated all these peoples who were subject to the kings that were subject to him. And then, in verse 8, the king of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, those 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, marched out to fight those 4. And they were going to get their butts whipped. 4 kings against 5. They thought, they had 5, so they could beat 4, but they forgot that they're subject to one of them, so it's more like 10 against 5. They thought they had one more, 5 against 4, but it's actually more like 5 against 10. Because remember I mentioned Kedolamer could just whip all 5 of them on his own. So it says right here in verse 10, there were tar pits there, and then the kings, they fled, the men, they fled and ran for the hills. And then those 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food. But they also carried off Abram's nephew, Lot, since he was living in Sodom. A man reported this to Abram, and when Abram heard his relative had been taken, he called 318 trained men and went in pursuit. They went all over looking for him. During the night, Abram, because they found him, of course they found his nephew. So whoever was around his nephew, he attacked them, and then he routed them, and then chased them. Kept chasing them so they would run from him, and then chased them as far north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods, all his nephew's possessions, and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. So he's sort of a hero. It says here in verse 12, because his nephew was living in Sodom, he was kidnapped. But he probably was not the only person that was kidnapped. I think that's how the kings did things in the past. They attacked Sodom and they just grabbed everything and grabbed a bunch of people and ran off with them. So he knew which goods belonged to the people that were carried off or kidnapped in Sodom, and then he just recovered them for him, and then of course he got his nephew and his stuff back. And so these other people and women, he just said, I'm a hero, I free you, and here's all your stuff, I got it back for you. And then he said, see you later, come on, let's go, Lot, and all his stuff. So verse 17, after Abram returned, this king of Sodom comes out here to the valley of Shaveh, and I think he followed Abram. He just followed him for some reason, because you remember he was defeated by Chedorlaomer. So Abram had to defeat Chedorlaomer to get his nephew and his stuff back. But of course he just goes home, and then when he's on his home territory, Melchizedek, king of Salem, brings out bread and wine, and he blesses Abram, and he says, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. And someone goes, "Excuse me," and then Abram's there with his priest. He's kind of a priest because he creates altars and calls on the name of the Lord. Melchizedek, king of Salem, he's like a high priest. He's talking to his high priest, and Abram's a priest. And then someone's like, "Excuse me," it's the king of Sodom. "Can I give me people and keep the goods for yourself?" Because, he's a defeated king, so he doesn't have any land or subjects or stuff. Abram says to the king of Sodom, I don't think it's written here, but he probably was thinking, "Who are you, man?" oh, I heard, the Chedorlaomer whipped your butt. Because remember, that happened earlier, and then because his nephew was kidnapped, he had to get involved. He doesn't know who the king of Sodom is. He didn't fight him directly. He's like, "Who are you, man?" "Oh, that defeated king." And then he says, "With raised hand I've sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. To to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share. Here it doesn't say that Abram actually gave him anything. I don't think he likes him, It just says here that I will never accept anything from Sodom. But nothing what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. Let them have their share. In war, they said sometimes the spoils of war, right? So Abram said, I don't like you, King of Sodom. I'll never take anything from you. But, my men are warriors, and they deserve their spoils of war. Thank you for listening. We'll stop there. Remember, I know there's another video. Put God first, and He'll take you places.